The sun at Fort Kearson Training Academy didn't rise, it attacked. It poured across the open field in blinding gold, baking the recruits who had been standing since dawn. Rows of faces shone with sweat, boots digging into the mud, as the instructors barked their commands. Among the 284 recruits, one figure stood out, not because she was loud or tall, but because she was utterly still. Lieutenant Sarah Hale didn't flinch, didn't fidget, didn't even wipe the sweat from her brow. She was calm, collected, and unreadable. The others whispered about her. She's too calm. She used to be intelligence. Why's she even here? The truth was no one knew. Transfer orders had come from higher up, stamped confidential. She had skipped every level of screening to join the elite leadership combat program. That alone made her a target, and for one man she was a threat. Sergeant Tyler Briggs had been at Fort Kearson for 8 years. He'd trained dozens of officers and broke half of them before graduation. To him, leadership wasn't about intelligence or composure, it was about dominance. The field belonged to those who could command fear, not earn respect. So when Sarah arrived, composed and unshaken by his tone, something inside him burned. During roll call, he circled behind her, boots crunching against gravel. "Lieutenant Hale," he said, voice low and sharp. "What unit were you transferred from?" "Intelligence Division, sir." "Sir?" He smirked. "You calling me sir, Lieutenant? Last I checked, I'm a sergeant. You outrank me on paper, but in this yard, rank doesn't mean a damn thing." "Yes, Sergeant." Her tone was respectful, but her eyes, steady, cold, and precise, made the other recruits feel a shift. It wasn't defiance. It was control. Tyler didn't like that. He slammed his clipboard shut. "We'll see if that tone lasts after day 1. Day 1, the endurance trial. 5 miles of uneven terrain, crawling under barbed wire, climbing cargo nets, and wading through freezing water, all while carrying 30 pounds of gear." Most recruits struggled. Some quit halfway through. Sarah didn't. She ran with rhythmic precision, her pace never faltering. When mud caked her boots, she didn't stop to clean them. When barbed wire tore her sleeve, she kept crawling. Tyler watched her through binoculars from the tower. He saw her fall once, but only once. When she stood again, her movements became sharper, faster, as if the pain had activated something buried deep. By the end of the day, her uniform was soaked and torn, but her face was unreadable. When she reached the finish line, Briggs stepped in front of her. "Congratulations, Lieutenant. Fastest time in your group." "Thank you, Sergeant." He leaned in, his voice a low growl. "You think you're special because you're fast? You think this is about numbers? No, Sergeant. It's about consistency." That one word, consistency, hit him harder than a punch. It meant she wasn't trying to outshine him. She was proving that his intimidation had no effect, and that was a kind of victory he couldn't tolerate. Day 2, weapons familiarization. Inside the armory, recruits learned to strip and reassemble standard-issue rifles under timed conditions. Tyler used the day to humiliate. He'd call out names at random, testing nerves more than skill. When Sarah's name came up, the room went silent. He tossed a disassembled rifle onto the table. "You've got 90 seconds, Lieutenant. Let's see if those fancy intelligence hands can do something useful." Sarah looked at the pile of steel and springs, expression calm. 90 seconds starting. Now. Her hands moved, not fast but deliberate. Each part clicked into place like clockwork. The seconds ticked by. At 78, she chambered the bolt and placed the rifle on the table, muzzle down. Tyler scowled. 78 seconds. You could have shaved off 5 if you actually hustled. Sarah looked up. "Rushing leads to mistakes, Sergeant. I prefer precision." Her tone wasn't smug, and it was factual. That made it worse. The recruits murmured again. Briggs slammed his fist on the table. "In my yard, I decide what matters." Sarah didn't respond. She just stared at him, unblinking. The silence stretched. For the first time, Briggs felt that someone had just challenged him, without a word. Day 4, night drills. At 200 hours, a siren screamed across the barracks. Recruits scrambled out, half-dressed, grabbing rifles and boots. It was a surprise alert, a simulation of a midnight ambush. Tyler watched from the shadows as chaos erupted. He saw Sarah emerge from her bunk, calm amid the panic. She didn't shout. She simply moved with quiet efficiency, boots laced, rifle checked, flashlight ready. "Form up," she called to her group. "Count off in twos." Without realizing it, her squad started obeying her instead of the duty officer. She had become the center of order in the chaos. By the time the official command caught up, her team was already lined up, ready, and accounted for. Briggs' jaw tightened. She had just made him look irrelevant. When the drill ended, he cornered her outside the tent. "Who gave you permission to lead that unit?" "No one, Sergeant." "But they were falling apart. And that's your problem." "Yes, Sergeant." Her honesty disarmed him for half a second. Then anger took over. "You're not here to fix my recruits. You're here to learn your place." Sarah's eyes hardened. "Understood, Sergeant, but the tone said otherwise. I already know my place, and it's not beneath you." Day 5, the breaking point. The recruits were exhausted. The drills were harsher, the food rations smaller, and every failure somehow ended up blamed on Sarah. If a recruit fell behind, Briggs shouted her name. If equipment malfunctioned, he accused her of sabotage. Some recruits began to resent her. Others secretly admired her. That night, in the mess hall, a young corporal named Diaz sat beside her. "Ma'am," he whispered, "you know he's setting you up, right?" Sarah didn't look up from her tray. "Yes." "Then why don't you report him?" She smiled faintly. "Because he wants that. He wants me to react, to lose control. Silence frustrates him more than anger ever could." Diaz blinked. "So what's your plan?" "To wait until the right moment," she said quietly, setting her fork down. "Then show him what control really means." Day 7, the demonstration. It began like every morning. Inspection, drills, lineup. But there was something off in the air. Briggs's voice was sharper, his steps faster. He was hunting for something, or someone. Then he called her name. Lieutenant Hale, front and center. The recruits exchanged uneasy glances. Everyone knew what this meant. Briggs turned to the crowd. "You all think discipline is about rules, but sometimes it's about reminding people who's in charge." He motioned for Sarah to step into the circle. She did, steady, composed, hands behind her back. "Drop your gear," he ordered. She obeyed. "Let's show them how we correct arrogance." The room tensed. Briggs lunged, fast, brutal, his fist aiming for her shoulder. But Sarah moved like water, sidestepped, caught his wrist, twisted it down. Crack. The sound of bone snapping cut through the air. Briggs screamed, falling to his knees. Every recruit froze. Sarah stepped back, breathing evenly. Her face didn't show triumph, only calm. "They also teach us restraint, Sergeant," she said. "That was me being restrained." After the incident, everything at Fort Kearson shifted. Some feared her. Most respected her. But all remembered her. The official report described the event as self-defense during unauthorized aggression. Briggs was hospitalized, and the commanding officer called Sarah in for questioning. Inside the office, Colonel Reeves read her file silently. Her record was spotless. Her evaluations were exceptional. Finally, he looked up. "You didn't hesitate, did you?" "No, sir." "Why?" "Because hesitation in leadership costs lives." He studied her, then smiled faintly. "You know, Hale, this place wasn't built for people like you. It was built to break them. Then maybe it needs rebuilding, sir." In the following weeks, Sarah's reputation solidified. The recruits began mimicking her quiet discipline. She never raised her voice, never boasted, but when she spoke, even once, the entire platoon listened. During field simulations, her squad became unstoppable. They anticipated commands, reacted in silence, and executed flawlessly. She had turned a group of anxious recruits into a precision unit. At night, while others rested, she trained alone. Close quarters combat, timed reassembly, and mental drills. Pain didn't slow her down. It focused her. What none of them knew was that Sarah wasn't just running from arrogance, she was running from her own past. Before Fort Kearson, she had lost her entire unit during a classified mission in the Middle East. Bad intelligence, wrong coordinates. The guilt haunted her. Joining the academy wasn't about proving strength. It was about redemption. Breaking Briggs' arm wasn't just defense, it was release. A moment when she finally stopped staying silent for the sake of protocol. A month later, during a graduation ceremony, Colonel Reeves called her forward. "In my 20 years here," he said to the assembled recruits, "I've seen fear, failure, and pride. But today I saw something else, control. That's leadership." He pinned a new insignia on her shoulder. Lieutenant Sarah Hale, Commanding Officer, Echo Unit. Applause filled the air, but Sarah didn't smile. She simply saluted, because for her, the real victory wasn't the rank. It was the silence, the kind that follows respect, not fear.